that you help us say the right things to help move this city forward. And we want to thank you for continuing to bless this city and move it in a positive direction. And thank you for your son, Jesus. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right. This begins our portion of the public hearing on item 4A for the proposed budget for 2020 and 2021. Did we have any citizens that have comments on the budget? No? Okay. We shall move then to the proposed tax rate of 0.548599.
I have one comment.
We do have one citizen's comment.
Okay, this is to City of West Tawakoni, City Council Manager, West Tawakoni, from Ward Hanson, 229 Harrelson Lane. Question to the city manager to be read and answered at budget hearing before tax rate is set per new Senate Bill 2 rules for promulgated rate calculations for: number 1, no new tax rate; number 2, voter appraisal rate. Respectfully requested. Response to this: the no new revenue tax rate is the tax rate for the 2020 tax year that will raise the same amount of property tax revenue for City of West Tawakoni from the same properties in both the 2019 tax year and the 2020 tax year. The voter approval rate is the highest tax rate that the City of West Tawakoni may adopt without holding an election to seek voter approval of the rate.
Thank you. And that's the only comment we have. Thank you. If there are no further comments at this time, we will close the public hearing at 6:07 p.m. We will call to order the special session at 6:08 p.m. for the first reading of ordinance 287-9-15-2020 for proposed 2020-2021 budget. Again, this is the first reading of 2. Chair would entertain discussion from the council concerning the budget. Proposed budget, pardon me.
The only discussion that I have is I want to thank everybody on the council. I think we all worked hard together to look at all of these items, and I think we put together a good budget for next year.
Thank you, Councilor.
I'd like to add on to that. I think we did a great job actually working together this year, and we pretty much tore this thing apart and rebuilt it. I think what we have rebuilt will really help our city move forward this year. And I want to thank all the council members for the work, and Annette as well, the work that's been done.
Thank you, Councilor.
Stole my thunder. First thing I want to do was, Annette, is thank you. I think you've done a fantastic job throughout this whole thing, and I mean that. I know that in conversations you've made comments that you didn't have the knowledge, or you kind of made us feel like that maybe you didn't know.
We lost audio.
Really and truly.
Hold on. They've lost audio. We have to stop.
Can you hear us yet?
Can you hear us?
Now you just came back.
Okay, go ahead.
you have done a fantastic job. We have fired, I don't know how many questions at you, and a lot of them you sat right there and answered them. And if you didn't answer them, you gave us an answer the next day that we met. So really, I thank you a whole lot. You have carried us as a council, you have carried us through this workshop budget.
Yes.
And
It's been a lot of changes.
there has been a lot of changes, and that was the second part of what I wanted to say is we have changed a lot throughout this budget. And in my best feelings, I feel like we changed it all for the better. And I do want to kind of throw a wind of caution there that we all need to realize that there's a mistake we made. Okay, somewhere there's a mistake we made, and we'll find it. But as long as we just all arm in arm get in here together, we'll fix it. So we made a mistake, I promise you, and it's going to come up. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be the next day, but somewhere our mistake's going to come up. But we'll just stick together as a team, and we'll push through it. Okay, that's all I got to say.
So I'm going to tag on to everything that everyone has said. I want to express my sincere appreciation to the council. And Annette, you have my undying gratitude for the work and the thoughtfulness that you have put in, and not only hurting us in the right direction, so to speak, but helping us to make the decisions, sometimes difficult ones. I also want to thank the department heads for those hours that they put in furnishing us information when we ask for it. This job can be challenging at times, but so rewarding at times. And the reward, in my opinion, right now, is the fact that we came together as a team for the first time in a while, and we have done our best to, as Chris said, tear it apart, put it back together, and kind of get things to where they belong. And I want to commend all those involved with my sincere gratitude for the work that you've done. And I want to thank our citizens for your input. We're listening, and please continue to give us your feedback. We appreciate it. And with that, I want to move on then, if that's all the comments from the council, to the first reading of ordinance. This is going to be item number 9. First reading of ordinance 288-9-15-2020 for tax rate for the 2020.
Wait, we got to read the heading of the.
You're gonna need a motion to approve the budget ordinance on first reading before you move away from that. Because you
I'm
need
sorry.
to approve that on first reading.
I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 287-9-15-2020 for proposed 2020-2021 budget.
I make a motion that we entertain the first reading of ordinance number 287-9-15-2020.
I'll second that motion.
Motion was made by Kevin, seconded by Chris Burkett. All those in favor, please state your name.
Kevin Featherston.
Linda Catner.
She said first.
Thank you. Thank you for the correction, Mr. McElroy. All right. First reading of the ordinance 288-9-15-2020 for tax rate for 2020-2021 budget year. A, maintenance and operations, 0.484213. Debt services rate, 0.064386. Total tax rate, 0.548599. Any further discussion by the council?
I got it.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 288-9-15-2020 for tax rate for 2020-2021 year.
Make the motion that we approve ordinance number 288-9-15-2020 for our tax rates.
I will second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion by Counselor Milburn. We have a second by Counselor Burkett. All in favor, please indicate by stating your name.
Chris Burkett.
Donna's raising her hand. Linda Catner.
Okay, who made the motion? Chris?
Donna made the motion, Chris seconded. Thank you very much. There's something, Mr. McElroy, if you can help me out here, we had a discussion and asked for some additional information from Public Works Department on auction items. Should that be addressed before we should have done the budget motion?
Not necessarily. This is for auctioning the rolling stock when you take in the new cars from the rental company.
Yes, sir.
No, we can come back and deal with that later. We can do that. We can set a policy on doing that. We can do it with a simple resolution, how we were going to go about doing it, whether we're going to do it through one like Sulphur Springs is using Renee Bates, but there's 4 or 5 different companies that do the exact same thing. You can adopt that in a resolution later as to how you're going to go about doing it. Chief, have you started receiving cars from Enterprise yet?
No, sir. The only thing I have is I need to go over with the council about the items that are going to be auctioned off. And no, we have not done that yet until everything's approved. We're not ready to order yet.
And also my concern, Mr. McElroy, was that this is not an item on the agenda. So I wanted to make sure we were covered.
We lost you.
If it's not on the agenda, then we're not going to address it further tonight, but we can come back and do this in a resolution when it is properly posted. But it really doesn't become an issue until you actually start receiving Enterprise vehicles, which is when you're going to have surplus vehicles to go ahead and ship off to the auction. And we'll have covered that in policy discussions before that happens.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, that moves us to item number 10, approval of consent agenda items. A, bills paid and those to be paid month of August 2020. B, financial report month of August 2020. C, code enforcement report month of August 2020. D, public works field and plant report month of August 2020. Do you have any discussion by the council on those reports?
I have one. We've got a contract labor for 1226.4 for Alma Jenkins.
That's our meter reader.
Meter reader.
I'd like to make a comment of the financials, which I have been going through and highlighting things that I have questionable. I want to make sure before the end of this year, because the end of my year is September 30th, and try to deal with some of these transfers that need to be done for is in the same category, which is water sewer, which is payroll and things like this, that they are not hitting those line items. I might have to contact the auditor and get Melissa to, okay, this is, how can we do this so that we can try to get a better understanding? But Leanne and I were dealing with the bills just a few minutes ago. We were trying to see where we're at for the end of this year for general fund. General fund's my concern. And she had bills that were ready to be paid up to the end of this month. And I have transfers that I've got to do. I know from general fund to water sewer that's back to water sewer, along with some more transfers that I'm sure I'm gonna find. And it looks like we are gonna be sitting at $50,000 at the end of this year for general fund. So it's tight right now. It's, and that is, I have one more payroll. So that's where we're at, but that's the way we normally are. We're pretty tight at the end of the year, and our tax dollars do not really start coming in until the end of December and January. So we're, but we have received, you can see in the general fund, we've received, I believe, pretty much what we proposed last year on the taxes. The tax roll, we're right now currently at 364,000. And we had proposed 371. So if we get some more that, come in, that'll, and we went over on our delinquent, which is good for collections. Okay. But that's all I wanted to let y'all know, because I know we're facing the end of our year.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else? All right, if there are no further discussions, Chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items.
Donna made the motion.
I'll second.
Chris has seconded the motion. All those in favor, please indicate by stating your name.
Kevin Featherston.
Anna Milburn.
Linda Gattner. Thank you very much. Item number 11, discuss and/or action on Tawakoni Community Trunk or Treat in the City Park. Just for informational purposes, the event that was normally scheduled, as we do every year, has been canceled due to the COVID-19 virus. There were issues that were of concern over social distancing. It's hard to social distance kids, and especially when there's sugar involved. So there has also been some interest in the community concerning doing something. So did you want to address that, Annette? Okay.
I have an email. It says, Mayor, Council, we understand that Friends of the Park had canceled Trunk or Treat due to COVID-19. We do understand why. As a citizen, I would like to see this event take place this year. I would like to request that West Tawakoni citizens are allowed to reserve the park for October 31st, 2020, from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. for Tawakoni Community Trunk or Treat in the City Park. This will be promoted and organized by citizens of West Tawakoni. Thank you, Leilani. How do you pronounce her last name? I love you. Is that right? Okay. All right.
Can I speak to that? Linda?
Hear you.
Okay, can you hear me right now? Okay. So here's my concern. I would love to see Trunk or Treat go on. It's a great event for the kids. But we have kids in our schools that are being tested and watched very carefully for COVID. We've got one elementary school now up in Greenville ISD that has had to shut down. They are closed because of the number of COVID cases that they have. I believe they closed late last week, and they're currently cleaning that school. We have a few cases in Quinlan's Middle School, and if you hold a Trunk or Treat event and you bring those children out to the city park, they are not going to be wearing masks. They're going to be exposed to other people who are not in their family direct units, not in their schools. And right now, Quinlan ISD Elementary School, DC Cannon, is looking at a lot of kiddos that are going to be coming back in-person classes in the next 2 weeks. I just don't think our city should allow any kind of activity in our city park that exposes the entire community and all those children at the elementary school and middle school to getting sick.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Featherston, anything?
So what I'll say, and I understand exactly what you're saying, Donna, but the other thing, number one, this will be an outdoor event. Number two, I think it's being said that we would come up with some sort of way of doing this, whether it be line spacing, whatever. I haven't heard any of that. I mean, I don't think that anybody wants this to be a free-for-all, but one thing I do want us to all maybe look at or think about is when you go out in the public today, and not everybody goes to stores, but there are still some people that go shopping or whatever, me being one of them, okay? I see kids all the time going in a store, but I see the adult because there is a rule or not, it's not really a law, it's a mandate. There is a rule that if a child is a certain age, that they don't have to wear a mask, but the adult does. I'm sorry, but I mean, and I'm entitled to my opinion, and I can speak my opinion. It doesn't matter if they're this big or that big, you're still acceptable. So I do understand what you're saying, but I also know that our position as a city is to try to keep our community flowing and try to keep a smile on our community's face. And the more we kick them in the shin and the more we pull the rug out from underneath their feet, the more they're going to frown, the more they're going to get disgruntled, and the more our city is going to be in just chaos. So do we add to that chaos, or do we try to control it, and do we try to help it? Do we try to put a little bit of sunlight into this gray day that we've been given? That's the question I think we should ask ourselves.
You are aware that we have 33 deaths in Hunt County from COVID, correct? And every day, Hunt County posts on their official website the new COVID cases. We had 12 more cases that came in yesterday. We're averaging around 50 new cases a week here. And if we open this up and we let the general public come into the park to do this, essentially the city government is saying to the population of West Tawakoni that we think it's safe enough for them to do this and we're not going to cause more community spread. I think it's a very bad idea, and I think you put at risk not only our citizens, but our school teachers and all the people who are trying to stay safe at the schools, the daycares, and these businesses are only open here right now because we have been following the rules of wearing masks and being careful.
So to answer what you're saying, then we as a city are kind of a double standard because we just opened our park back up for camping 2 weeks ago.
But that's not a double standard if you're talking about people doing individual going into their own tents and in their own areas. You have social distancing there. If you have a family group who rents a space or an RV or one of the picnic areas, that really is still them being in a family group. If you open up and allow a citizen to have an event where you have different children coming from different families, you're going to likely create a super spreader, and we're going to end up with more illness here in our county.
And I'm not trying to debate that fact with you, but what I am going to tell you is if that park is open, and right now it's open to the public, okay? If that park is open, here's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter what our city says or what our council says or what anybody says. If the park is open, if we're saying our park is open, as we did say 2 weeks ago, the citizens are going to do it if they want to, because it is a public park and they pay taxes in our city. So that's what you have to look at and ask yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, we really cannot say that they can't go down there. If they're not camping, if they're going down there and they're all saying that we're just here to play or we're just here to whatever, how are we going to govern that? We have no authority to.
That's
Open.
We're not governing it now. It's open. They're coming and going. You go down there on Saturday, they were all lined up out there fishing, swimming. We're not governing it now. So I don't see how we can govern this trick or trunk or treat or whatever it is.
Well, I think the city's standpoint on this is We've already said our park's open, we have to leave it open. We can't close it now because it would really look bad saying we're closing it because of the trunk or treat. Only thing is we ask that the social distancing is respected. We ask that the precautions are taken. That's all we can do and say at this point. We have no true authority other than closing our park over this. That's what we all need to realize.
You have the authority to not give city council permission for an official trunk or treat. If people go in and they do this, then they do it. But if this council votes and gives official permission for a trunk or treat event, essentially what our city government is doing is saying that we are sanctioning a situation that is not in line with our Hunt County Public Health Department.
And what I'm trying to tell you is, I don't think what I said was understood. We don't need to have anything to do with the trunk or treat. The city has already took that standpoint. Whatever our citizens do, they're gonna do. If that park is open, they're gonna do it. So at this point, I think we take no action on this. There's nothing for the city to take action on. We don't need to be part of it. Because if there is something that our citizens do that compromises somebody's health or whatever, the city doesn't need to be any part of it. If the citizens are gonna make their decisions and they're gonna have, just like everybody else, just like any of us, anything we do, there's always a repercussion for our action. If they do that, then that's on them. That's not on the city. But I'm telling you right now, if that park is open, it doesn't matter what we say here tonight. It doesn't matter if we say we sanction it, we don't sanction it, we whatever it. I'm telling you, the citizens, I've heard too much around this community. They're gonna, if that park is open, they're gonna have it. It doesn't matter what we say tonight, I promise you.
I'm in agreement with you about taking no action. If we take an action and sanction it, that's what I'm in disagreement for. I hope the citizens are listening to this meeting. And I hope those citizens who were not aware that we have 33 dead people here from this, that we have 50 new cases each week, maybe they should go to the Hunt County official website and monitor what's happening to our cases here. We've got more people in the hospital. It is a serious virus. And we got a lot of people in the world who think that it's a made up thing or it's a politically based thing. So you've got to do your research, but I think we're actually on the same page of just taking no action.
That's what I think as a city, that's my opinion, that's what our standpoint needs to be, is we take no action because we just opened our park 2 weeks ago. The only action we could take tonight as a city, if we all want to stand on the statistics, is, well, we're closing our park tomorrow. And I wouldn't go, I'm not going for that. So anyway, I'm done.
Mr. McElroy, can you shed any light on this before we make a final decision?
Well, I mean, I hear both viewpoints here and I understand both viewpoints. I mean, citizens are required when they're doing whatever they're doing, whether they're using a park or whether they do this on a church parking lot, or if they went down and did it on the side of the road, they're required, you know, much of the governor's mandate doesn't mandate businesses. It mandates individuals. It mandates individual citizens to socially distance. It mandates individual citizens to avoid gatherings of, is it 50 people or 10 people now? I've lost track of which governors, what the current state of it is. You know, in Great Britain now, as of this week, it's 6 people. But which I hear people saying it's made up thing, but I'm wondering why, if it's made up for the politics of America, why they're doing this in Great Britain. That makes no sense to me. But anyway, that's a whole nother argument, a whole nother discussion we don't have to have right now. But the citizens are mandated by the governor's order to socially distance, to mask when they're not able to socially distance, even outside. They're required to wear a mask, and I'm hopeful that they will observe those mandates when they're doing whatever they're doing in the park or wherever they're going to do it at. I don't think it exposes the city if it's not a city-sponsored event. I just think people need to be careful. There are nearly 200,000 dead people in this country from this disease already. And one of the projections I saw by the end of next year is that'll be 2.2 million. We need to be careful and make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, so if then the city council takes no action, is that your recommendation?
I don't know that it's a recommendation. I mean, we don't have a park policy that will prohibit this people from going down and doing this type of event in the park if they choose to do it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. In that case, my opinion is that the city is not going to sanction an event, but our park has been open to the public as far as anything official. It was only for self-contained RVs, and the restrooms remain closed. As far as I'm concerned, I don't feel like we can.
But we need to encourage the people to observe the governor's mandates as far as social distancing, mask wearing, and those things, whether they're in the park or anywhere else in the city.
Yes, sir. So noted. Thank you. All right. So at this point, what is the council's decision?
No action taken.
No motion on the table.
That's correct. Okay. This item is going to die for lack of a motion. Am I correct, Mr. McElroy?
Yeah, you call your next agenda item.
Sure.
We need to go back to citizens input.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Annette says we need to go back to citizens input.
It's not on the agenda, though.
It was, but we skipped it.
No, well, we did it up at number 5.
We did, but that was on the public hearing. We didn't include one for the special session. That was the hearing heading. And we have to allow for that.
Is there a citizens input on the agenda?
No, sir, there is not.
Well, citizens get to have input on each individual item. If there's not just a clear citizens input space on the agenda, probably shouldn't go to it at this point.
You need to look at your agenda.
There is, number 5.
Jim, it's listed as number 5, and then we closed the public hearing. So does that citizens input only apply to that public hearing?
Yeah, that's a meeting that we're not in anymore.
That's correct, but we are required to have citizens input, if I'm not mistaken, on the session.
Only to the extent that citizens are allowed to comment on each regular item on the agenda. We're not required to put a special citizens input special category in the agenda, but the citizens are entitled to comment on each individual agenda item if they choose to. And I assume that there were no comments. None have been posted on any of the agenda items we've covered so far.
Is that what you have?
The only comments that I had was what I read that were, sent to me.
So the citizens have been entitled to comment on each of the agenda items that we've gone over. But we're not required to have just a general citizens input. We have one at our typical meeting that comes at the end of the agenda. But I have not seen, I didn't get a copy of this agenda, and so I didn't download it, but I haven't looked at it. But if it doesn't have it on there, we really need to be careful in the environment we're in right now. We need to be careful about staying on the agenda, because there's lots of people out there poking sticks and throwing rocks.
It is not on the agenda.
Okay. With that being said, the chair would like to remind the public and the council that the Cotton Patch Challenge is this Saturday, coming through our city. It is not going to be touted as the cheerleading type event that we normally have done, and just wanted to let you know to please be mindful of those that are on bicycles coming through our city. Please watch out for them and be respectful. And please bring snacks if you are so inclined. They need to be wrapped, and those bike riders would greatly appreciate that. That does help them. And it'll be.
Wear a mask. Make sure you tell them that wear a mask.
Thank you, Counselor. Chamber of Commerce Building.
What time?
8. If you're going to bring snacks, please have them available at the Chamber Building by 8 a.m., please. These riders want to get finished with their race and before the heat gets too bad. I want to thank everyone for participating tonight. Again, thank you to all the counselors and to Annette and the department heads for helping with this budget. Thank you again for your time. The motion would entertain chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, the budget's gotten to me. Kevin made a motion to adjourn. Donna seconded the motion. All in favor, please indicate by saying your name.
On a bumper.
Linda Kavner. Thank you all very much. We are adjourned.
Thank you.